Now then, you might recall that some time ago I made a whole load of sculptures, little figures about 6 inches tall, which are called the May Parade, and they were all sort of loosely based on costumes worn at folk events around the UK. Here's a quick look at them. So originally I painted them all bronze, but just recently I thought, what if I gave them some colour and actually painted them as if they were realistic figures? And I'm quite pleased with the results. These are the first two, my pumpkin guy and my obios. And I thought that what I'd do is take you through the process of converting one of these bronze coloured ones, and I'm going to do my rabbit drummer and showing you the process I go through. So here he is. I've basically taken the bronze original figure and sprayed it with white primer, and just basically give it a key, something for the paint to stick to. And of course, if it's white underneath, it'll be a bit brighter as well. Next stage is to put on some blocks of colour. So here I've painted the base green, but after I've mixed together some fine sand and some PVA to give it a bit of texture like grass. So yeah, that's the base all done. Now we'll start putting blocks of colour on the actual figure itself. I've now painted the overalls a kind of purpley blue and given him a nice red shirt. And yeah, I will be adding some sort of washes to put some shading on there and some dry brushing to bring up some of the highlights, but these are the main blocks of colour. And now we move on to other parts of the figure. I've now given the drum a little bit of blue colour and the straps. I've painted in a kind of fawny colour for the hands, the feet and the mask, and put on the guy's hair and ears. Not quite sure yet what I'm going to do in terms of the colour scheme for the rest of the drum, but it'll be whatever takes my fancy at the time. Anyway, onwards. I've now added some colour to the mask and the drumsticks and the top of the drum and the little rabbit on the skateboard. So now it's just a matter of doing some highlights and some shading. And then this one's done and you can go and join the others. And on the subject of the others, these are the ones I've done so far. Here's the teaser, who for some odd reason I've decided to paint a skull onto his hood and also give his little puppet the look of a nun. Yep, I don't know why either. And here's the jangler with his big bells and his furry costume. And I decided to redo the horns on the top, so I didn't think they were dramatic enough. So I added these antlers made from super sculpey over a wireframe, and I've also added these eyes in with these small red round balls. Here's Peter Pumpkinhead, named after the XTC song, of course, and quite pleased with the colours on this one. I quite like this one, and yeah, he's looking quite good in his blue dungarees. And here's my Mastos, my Obios, who used to be called Pen Bronze, which means bronze head in the Cornish language, but of course I've got to change that now because I've coloured it. Maybe Margoose, which means blood horse, or maybe Jevan Ruth, which means red demon. I don't know, I'll have a think, but I'm quite pleased with how the figure has come out. Well, I've done a little bit of dry brushing, a little bit of touching up with little bits of paint here and there, and he's done. So he can now go and join the others in the gang. And I'll move on to the next figure. The next two to get the painting treatment will be these two. This one to start with. I think he's a quick win. Hello, Harris. And this one, I think he's going to be fairly easy as well, because I think he's going to be mostly one colour. Okay, let's make a start. This is a fairly simple one. It's just a bunch of oak twigs gathered off the ground and stuck over a wire armature, and then the whole thing's been painted black and the base has been done with sand and PVA. I said this one would be a quick win. I painted the base, as you do, although I've got to touch those bits in there. Then put on several layers of brown, successively lighter, and dry brushing to bring out all the features. All I've got to do now is give it a wash of a light brown to actually bring all the colours together. And then I'm going to highlight some areas with some little bits of flock and fake moss. So it looks like there's a little bit of green on him. And then he'll be done. And here's the finished thing. I've added a bit of flock here and there to add some grass. I've added some artificial moss, and I've added some silver for the bits of wire that are holding the twigs together on the person's costume. And I quite like him. The thing I'm not sure about at the moment is the eyes. I think they're maybe a little bit too obvious. I might rust them down a bit with some orange and browns, but otherwise he's looking pretty good. Now let's move on to the other one. This one has started like all the others with the sand and PVA mix on the base. Now going to put some white primer on it. So, primer, white primer. The one thing that white primer does do is it shows up all the imperfections in the sculpture. That's the one thing I will say. So I might have to do a little bit of carving with my scalpel on that face to improve it slightly. Might even give him a beard, who knows. But yeah, that's the paint on. Let's just let that dry and then we'll start colouring. It transpires that I've got a few issues to sort out with this guy. As you can probably see, in the process of painting it, I discovered that there was an inherent weakness in the structure here, and moving him around, the whole thing fell to pieces. Nothing I can't fix, but it does mean that work on this one will be delayed a little bit. Incidentally, the colour scheme for this one was fixed in my head even while I was sculpting it, because the town I come from in Cornwall, called Helston, has a big celebration every year called Flora Day, and part of that celebration is a big sort of musical, rowdy mumming play thing called the Hallantow, and one of the stars of the Hallantow is a dragon. Here's some video of him. Now it just so happens that that costume, well, not the one you're actually seeing there, but the original costume is one that I helped make. It was built back in the 1970s by the Helston School Art Department with help from an artist from St Ives, and every year it had to be tarted up. Every year it had to be repainted, fixed, the holes filled in, and I was one of the people who did that. And eventually it just became too tatty and couldn't work anymore. So the actual original is now on display in the museum in Helston, and they've now got a brand new costume. But I had to commemorate that costume because it was such a part of my teenage years working on that costume every year that I had to do a dragon and those sort of colours with that black and orange and white. So there you go. The repair is done. I drilled a hole in the leg, in the foot and in the body, and put a new stronger pin in there, and then put it all together with a 2-part epoxy glue, nice strong one, so that's nice and solid now. And I've touched up all the orange areas I hadn't done before, and I also did a little bit of scalpel work on the face, so the face is much better now, and put some flesh colour on there. Now all we need is some washes, some dry brushing, some highlights and little features, and this one's done as well. Well, there he is. I've dry brushed the scales with a lighter orange to bring up the detail. I've given his horn a little bit of silver. Might put some pupils on the eyes yet, but otherwise he's done. But that's it for this video. There'll be another video soon with some of the other figures painted, I expect, and the other stuff I'm working on at the moment. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. If you like this sort of thing, please like, please subscribe, and there'll be more soon. In the meantime, Toodle-pip, Toodle-pip. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing. Or click on some of these links to look at some of the other videos on the channel. Or press the like button. Or leave a comment. It would be lovely to hear from you. Any combination of those four things would be wonderful. Thank you very much.